Good afternoon, everybody. This is the DMV Poet, and I'd like to welcome you to episode number 4 of Streams of Consciousness. This is a special day. We're going to have our really second poetry guest. This is going to be interesting just because this is somebody I've known for a while. I met this guy about 7 years ago. He was a freshman at Howard University, and he was telling me he had aspirations to be a spoken word artist and to get into songwriting. We met a few times and shared some poetry, discussed some experiences, both past and present, and we eventually kind of lost touch. Fast forward maybe 3 to 4 years, I was working on building my brand in the city, and I landed a job hosting an open mic in Langley Park. So I basically reached out to him to do some graphic design work because I knew that's kind of what he was studying, and I needed to promote. And he kind of gave me this sophisticated, classy, and beyond unique flyer. And I kind of didn't give him any direction. I just kind of said, okay, this is the picture. This is what it's called. These are the details. And this first sample was like exactly what I wanted. So, I mean, basically, around this time, he told me that he was working on publishing his first book, which is going to be Letters from the Editor, Revelations of the Soul. And this is basically just a compilation of poems. It's his debut narrative. And it's kind of like a poetic novella that's forming a steady story that's based in empowerment. It's kind of a journey of failure, self-revelation, and triumph. And he uses a lot of great metaphors, vivid descriptions, and raw emotions. It basically serves as a very intense observation of issues that kind of basically affect us all. He has grown into a true HBCU grad, a Renaissance man, an author, an entrepreneur, a graphic designer, a spoken word artist, and an activist. And I'd like to welcome Dominic Antoine Thomas to Streams of Consciousness.
Thank you.
No problem. With that intro, I really want to try to encompass everything. But there's a couple of things I was always curious about. And I know your background. You graduated from DeMatha High School locally.
Yeah.
How did attending a Catholic school affect your life as an individual or as an artist?
It was big. A private all-boy Catholic high school taught me a lot about religion, taught me a lot about myself. I got to open up and explore some different thoughts without having my ego in the way.
Yeah.
There were no girls to impress, so it was a little easier.
Yeah.
The freedom to talk about different things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, like I said in the intro, you graduated from Howard.
Yes.
One of the most popular HBCUs.
Yeah, HU.
Yeah, the real HU, as some people may say. Was there a large contrast between going to DeMatha and graduating and then starting at Howard? There's
some sort of contrast. There's a difference, of course. DeMatha at the time was mixed.
Yeah.
Predominantly white, but
yeah, Howard is
historically black college university.
Exactly.
But the thing is, at DeMatha, it was all boys. It was all male. So there was that level of brotherhood and unity there.
Yeah.
At Howard, it's us predominantly.
Yeah.
So there's that brother and sisterhood. So
okay.
it's another bond.
All right. Was Morehouse a option? Was that something you thought about? Or?
No offense to Morehouse, but I didn't want to go to another all-male school.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I was done.
Yeah, I know a couple of people that graduated from Morehouse, and one thing that I know about most people that go to HBCUs is usually they come out with an extreme amount of pride, and not necessarily where they come from. Not necessarily in being black or being from a HBCU, but just kind of who they are.
Yeah.
Did Howard kind of help bring that out?
Oh, yeah. You learn so much about yourself. You learn how not to take no. Mm-hmm. You learn how to push yourself further and harder than you've ever been pushed before in your life.
Yeah.
You come out strong.
Okay. So as an author, where do you typically draw your inspiration to create? And does it kind of differ from where you were initially inspired?
When I first started, I pulled from everywhere. I pulled from situations my friends were going through. I pulled from family life. I pulled from everywhere, and I'm doing the same now. It's just a little broader. Being that I'm into all kinds of arts now, I'm more invested. So if I see a painting, I can be inspired by that. Whereas before, it's pretty.
Yeah. So when you're writing, right? Where do you pull your concepts? I know you said you get a lot of stuff from your own personal experiences and stuff from your friends. Do you kind of go to one way more often than not, like more darker or more positive, or more things about love, more things about society? Like, where do you tend to go?
I would definitely say I tend to go darker.
Okay.
I really love duality.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm cheerful, I'm happy,
Yeah.
I'm bubbly. So there's another side, the darker side.
Mm-hmm.
The heartache, the pain, being annoyed, being fed up,
Yeah.
all of that, and that is channeled when I'm writing.
We talked a little bit about it offline. As I know, as a poet, as a writer myself, a lot of times I get so much more energy and fuel when something bad happens.
Yeah.
And I think I talked about that on the previous show. That just, it kind of inspires me to write more. Like, could you share that? Or do you more so write more when you're happy? Because I know when I'm happy, I rarely write. Like, I'm just being happy.
Yeah, when I'm happy, I'm enjoying my happiness.
Exactly.
And when something bad happens, it's like, all right, let me pen and pad.
Yeah, I mean, basically, having you on the show was great for me. Because I remember when we met, and I remember sitting outside Starbucks and just kind of reading poems to each other and stuff like that. And I remember you saying you wanted to publish your book.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you how much of a struggling journey that is. And how that's something, you really need to think about that if that's what you want to do. Were you a student still when you were still kind of working on it and putting it out?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was a student. It didn't get published until my sophomore year. Uh-huh. So in the middle of classes and finals and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody that's listening, if you ever have a little bit of time, if you're interested in a new poetry piece, if you go to Amazon, you could basically type in Dominic Thomas or Antoine Thomas and Letters from the Editor, Revelations of the Soul. And it's available at Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Nobles, right?
No, it's not available at Barnes & Nobles.
Okay.
But I have it on my website, truthrevisited.com.
Yeah.
And like you said, the Kindle version is available on Amazon.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's start getting into the pieces.
Yeah.
And we looked over a couple of pieces before the show. And the one that kind of spoke to me the best or the most was Nightmare Suite. And this is actually not from Letters from an Editor. It's from Love Letters I Never Sent.
Yes.
Which is the second book you published?
Yes.
And it's also available on truthrevisited.com?
It was. It's not anymore. I'll tell you about that.
All right. Well, let's get into Nightmare Suite. I really want to share this with the people.
Like you said, this is Nightmare Suite, Love Edition. So what happens when there are no more tears being cried on the other side and lies are told by your mouth to your ears to keep you a little bit happier because depression is overrated? I thought that 365 was enough to pump down the straightaway towards sunny skies, though eyes were seeing rainstorms and thunderclouds for 48 hours, but showers don't last but so long to all that we had for real. Something so beautiful lost in misunderstandings, and there's no genie to grant us second chances because I could guarantee you all we needed was one. But you're done, and the best thing I had is gone like that, and the spectators speculate at fate and the choices we should have made, but never made attempts to inform when shit was brewing, but cheering and jeering behind mute faces, showing no emotion, but ever so quick to console the wretched wreck, searching for peace of heart that I lost while reveling in this peace of mind I had with you. I allowed myself to fall so hard with no helmet, no shin guard, no armor, or more to be like this than keep it. This has never hurt so much, and if this is the process of growth, I'd rather stay stagnant. I've never given my all as much as I have, evident in the fact that I have nothing left to give the next, or the next, or the next after the first three up and leave me to sit and write to myself again. It hurts you, but it kills me, that we were cut short by decisions that don't reflect true feelings or emotions, but everyone is motioning that after traveling back to 12, the seconds would finally catch up to the hours, and from there things would be clear, and if it were destined, then destiny would work hard to bring things and people back to where they should be, but honestly, I'm fearing we, or you, may not care to attempt when fate has shown her face in the presence of time, and mind slips back to allow trust to change you into us, and us would find hearts, and hearts would find love, but you don't let it. You say you're happy, and you should be, honestly, with or without me, but I wish I made you happier. If I told you we take this one day at a time and every day I fall in love with you all over again, then what would be true is that I love you 300 times over, and over this bump I feel we should be, but the only one in my immediate surroundings is me. Proudly take two surnames, and blue was always a favorite color, but opposites worked their magic and sounded so good next to dashes and ashes are spread, remembering the dead feelings and emotions each question brings up. How is I thank God quite a few times for taking his time to make you just for me. I even wrote you a song or two so you'd never forget. You say don't break your heart, and I say never. You ask to love me, I say forever. I look, you got me hooked. Something that's great, don't come up twice, and I'm so in love with you. Still to the second, I couldn't imagine this without you. And call me a fool, but a heart knows what's real, and despite mind's attempts to shield, and I would count the stars and shoot the moon to reach you. If I hadn't found you yet. And I would question life itself, believe in nothing else if I hadn't found you yet. And don't ever forget that I promised you forever, and we've only had .005, so I'm sticking around for that extra 3.995 alone. The only one in love, I'm the only one in love, and I hear your words that I made up. You say my name like there could be in us. I'd best tidy up my head. I'm the only one in love. I'm the only one in hell. And emotions take over and run wild circles. Apathetic to pathetic attempts to climb this wall and get over you, but you don't make it easy. Believe me, I've been trying and crying and hiding these things from anyone who knows the situation. But I make mention of how well I'm doing without you as validation. But surely, if I told you we take this one day at a time and every day I fall in love with you all over again, then what would be true is that I love you 300 times over. And over this bump I feel we should be, but the only one in my immediate surroundings is me.
Okay. I want to clap you real quick. I mean, there's a couple of... I read that before you performed it, and I don't think I've ever heard you perform that piece. I didn't know that you had, melodies singing in between and stuff like that. It kind of makes more sense hearing it than, such as spoken word, right? But there were a couple of things I wrote down. Yeah. I had some kind of pre-written questions from the text that I had gotten, but I kind of wanted to just focus on the things that I felt as you were reading it. Yeah. One of the main things I got out of this, Nightmare Suite, Love Edition, is pain. Yeah. Lost love. I felt like, I kept hearing phrases like wretched wreck that were very moving. Was this a combination of relationships, or was this kind of one moment in your life?
This was one moment, one relationship, yeah. Yeah.
Was it a combination of events?
Yeah, I mean, okay. It was a combination of events that led to the relationship's end. So, yeah. I
mean, one thing that really spoke to me was just the fact that resonated. I'm the only one in love. Yeah. And the connection I made to that was, I think that's the perfect nightmare. Yeah. I mean, and I think everybody dreams of being in love and authentically being in love. But I think a lot of times we don't make that connection that we kind of need the other person to love us back.
Yeah, that's kind of important, right? That's just a little bit.
Even if they say they do and they just don't act like they do. I mean, a lot of times, and I think there was another line in the piece that you said about trust not being there, and a lot of lies and everything like that. And one of the biggest things about this piece, I'd have to say, stuck in my mind is that as an individual, as a man, myself, I think a lot of times I may rely on a lie to get me through to the next day or the next week. And that's in relationships, that's at work, that's with family relationships. It's just sometimes I'll just believe what you're saying just because it's easier to take that than to deal with the fact that, one, you're lying to me, and two, this isn't the situation and it's going to be something different probably over time. Yeah. So, I mean, that was great.
I appreciate
kudos.
Appreciate it.
Just moving on a little bit with the interview. Now, when you were talking about Love Letters Never Sent, you said it wasn't available on Truth Revisited. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago seeing some graphics and stuff of that kind of your new publication. What happened with that? Where is it?
I released it. It was an e-release. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to physically publish that. I wanted to work on something that I've been working on for a while now. I'm still working on it, but to release something in the meantime, I mean, the breakup, that relationship fueled a lot. Like I said, I'm fueled by some negative emotions, so I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. So I had enough to release, a compilation. Okay.
I mean, I had the pleasure of reading Letters from the Editor, and we'll get into my thoughts on that book after our first song. It's going to be a close friend of the show, Dose Sigapone. One of my favorite songs by his, I'm sorry, Songs from a Caged Bird. It's off his second mixtape, I believe. And shout out to him. He's making that big trip to Dallas today. The DMV is traveling down south. Hey. And he's going to start that movement down there. So have a safe trip, man.
Try to smile every day I wake up, put my knees to the floor and thank my maker. Then I grab the bamboo and funnel, then I bake up. This life is beautiful like my wife with no makeup. But I'm feeling caged up like a parrot who can't fly, spread his wings. There's no meaning to life if you can't fly. So when I walk my life, I'm using my third eye. I see the trap clearly, whatever comes, roll with the punches. But I'm throwing a couple back. Life and happiness in some shoes, so I'm trying to just run with that. But I'm running like running backs. I'm married now, old life, young, and I'm done with that. I carried out all the negativity. Sometimes I even see the devil still trying to sit with me, but God ain't forgetting me. And I'm gonna be a better me, so fuck being a caged bird. Somebody take this key and set me free. Who's gonna set me free? Who's gonna set me free? Who's gonna set me free? Yeah, who's gonna set me free? My description of the vision that I'm painting, Michelangelo couldn't even paint it. It's hard for you to love your life when everything is tainted. It's even more hard when you try to maintain it. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and what I'm spitting is worth for you to listen. Follow guidelines towards your inner vision. Since the day of my birth, I noticed I had a purpose. Keep goodies like your favorite grandmama purses. Just to get it out, I let it out in verses. Even if I felt me a purpose, writing for cursives. And no rehearsing, I know what I need to say. Trying to be free like a pelican or blue jay, but you would say I would never make it out. Yeah, I make my mama proud, but you niggas hating here anyway. And I got one shot, I need me a sling so I can fly and set off on beautiful wings. Who's gonna set me free? Who's gonna set me free? Who's gonna set me free? Who's gonna set me free?
All right, that was Dose Sigapone, Songs of a Caged Bird. Well, before we get back started with Antoine, I do want to send a special shout out to Shihan the Prototype. He's a veteran deaf poet, and he actually just released a new project, Deciphering Gibberish. I think I've plugged it on an earlier episode, but I definitely wanted to remind everybody that, you know, he's out here working. He's still here. He's still performing. And at the end of the day, he still needs our support locally and around the world because he's a great talent. You can basically find him on YouTube. Just type in Shihan. You'll probably pull up a lot of his videos. And Deciphering Gibberish, if you put that in Google, it's going to pull up the link. And it's an amazing album. I think it's about $13 or whatnot. But it's you know, true hip-hop blended with spoken word, blended with melodies, you know, just a creative mind. But back with Antoine, I had the pleasure. I did some research. You know, even I know him. I wanted to find out like how the public views him as an author. You know, and when you publish a book, you know, most people know that a lot of times you have reviews, you have people on Amazon that, you know, comment on whether they like it or not. So, I mean, some of the reviews that I did pull, Letters from the Editor is a really deep book. I'm glad I took the chance on it, and I hope the author writes more. The only bad thing I would say about the book is that it isn't sold in traditional stores. I guess it comes down to money. Regardless, it was a great read. And that was a Google review. I got another review from Amazon. It says it's a great read. It's kind of short, but it's great nonetheless. Glad I took the chance and bought it.
Cool.
And another one was letters from the editor is a really deep book. I'm glad I took a chance on it. And I encourage anybody else that finds the link, truthrevisited.com, to purchase. So I wasn't able to find out who these people were or anything like that, but I just kind of pulled a couple reviews that I found. And how does it feel as an artist or as an author to hear those responses about your works?
Amazing. Amazing. It's nice. I mean, my writing is so personal. Mm-hmm. So when it's received so well, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I perform or in the event that somebody kind of approaches me at a performance and they tell me they remember a piece or, oh, that was great, this is amazing. I get a warm feeling that, it was justified. Me taking that chance was worth it, whether it felt like it at the time or not.
Yeah.
So this is a journey that I haven't trekked into, is publishing a book. I think first I'm probably going to record the album, release the album, and then try to work on a book afterwards.
Yeah.
But can you tell us about this journey? Because I think most writers, even if you write at home in your notebook, if you perform, most writers have the aspiration to publish.
Yeah.
Like, you tell us about that journey a little bit?
It was tough. It was tough. Looking, I was looking for publishers. I was looking, doing my own research, kind of by myself a little bit. And I didn't get anywhere, not where I wanted to get. So I decided to put it in my own hands. Mm-hmm. I self-published. I said, you know what? I got entrepreneurship in my blood. So let me go ahead and just start my own, publishing company and just do it under that and call it a day. So I looked up, copyright information. I took care of that myself. I looked up book printers, took care of that myself, and went like that. And, I had some friends who wanted to do the same thing. So a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. So I share the information.
Oh, yeah. That's always the greatest thing to do, especially when you accomplish something. And I see that you've reached some type of success because you've released 2 books. And Letters I Never Sent is in production. It's something kind of in the works, or
I'm thinking about re-releasing it when the 3rd book comes out. So it'll be out there too.
Okay. Now, we talked a little bit offline, and West 7th Design is kind of the other side of you.
Yeah.
It's a graphic design company, right? Based locally in the city. Tell us about that. Tell us about the launch of that. Tell us about that journey, building that together. That's my baby. I love writing and I love art. I love all aspects of art. Mm-hmm.
So when I was writing the book, I was like, okay, if I'm doing this on myself, I might as well design my own cover.
Yeah.
And that kind of led into it. So I started doing, posters and other things like that around Howard's campus, and that was received really well. Mm-hmm. Put some money in my pocket. So I said, hey, let me go ahead and run with it.
Okay.
So,
what all right, now the community on Howard's campus, like, how much of that impacted your entrepreneurial spirit? Because I know on most HBCU campuses, there's usually a very live culture. Mm-hmm. There's usually a lot of people that are very willing to see anything new, willing to try anything new. Yeah. Did that kind of feed into you wanting to make this a business?
100%. I actually started in the School of Business.
Okay.
And that's what they talked about. If you have an idea, run with it. You got an idea, run with it. So, push me off a cliff and I grew some wings and I flew. So
yeah, I mean, most of the time on campuses, I didn't go to HBCU. I went to a couple of different schools around the country, and usually it was very fraternity driven. Usually it was very life was breathed into the campus through just other organizations. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a very culture vibe. And I think that the culture at most HBCUs, whether it's Hampton, whether it's Howard, even Bowie, there's just so much life. Yeah. And it's very rich, and it's very about creativity. It's very about building something out of nothing. Yeah. So, shout out to all HBCUs for kind of keeping that going. Mostly Morehouse, Howard, most people, places I know people that graduated from. But I'm going to share a piece.
Yeah.
I wrote something a couple of days ago, and I just kind of wanted to share it. I'm working on a song that I kind of want to turn into with some verses and some melodies and stuff like that. But it's untitled. It's inhaling your innocence, stealing more with each breath, the scent of your body, the vessel of perfection in itself. Every line on your arm, every freckle on your back, the twinkle in your eyes, and the intelligence that's intact? How is it that our love is the fact that remains unchanged in a world just known just for that? A bond of loyalty exists between us, guaranteeing forgiveness, a friendship that seems to have proven nothing less than relentless. Our love is worth more than any amount of words can write, yet it would always be worth it, so I can look back, read, and remember, even when you're gone. And I kind of wrote that, of course, dedicated to love, that great thing. It's just kind of like a culmination of the emotion of kind of being infatuated with somebody, being in love with somebody, being in love with the emotion of being in love with somebody, being able to share something with somebody. And I think one of the biggest things about this piece that I wanted to kind of convey to the world is that, is that, in my opinion, the basis of any great relationship is friendship.
Yeah.
And in friendship comes honesty, comes transparency, comes love, so, and just, more the strength, the foundation of it. Okay. So I think we're ready to do the next piece with you.
Cool.
We're going to be listening to Antoine Thomas give us Dream Suite, the intro. And I think this is from a new publication, the third piece that you're working on.
Yep, the third one I'm working on.
All right, Dream Suite, the intro. Let's go.
All right. Architects of dreams birthed in hopeful actions by agents committed to realizing potentials promised in prophecy, laying foundations, frameworks, and floor plans by hand so that true thought and work is put into these structures. Let no other rupture that which is in the process of creation, lest seeking provocation or retaliation, only a shade lighter than the darkness felt at the absence of all hope. Masters of alchemy turning negative energies into fueling, empowering movement on every curse ever whispered against them. And nations rise when we speak. We breathe life into people and things, moving and moving ever upward and forward, striving and trying and doing, moving and moving, friends of opportunity, motioning for better things than we've grown accustomed to, building hope on light and living life as opposed to merely existing and shifting problems and fears like weights back and forth with no end or goal. Movers of soul, because our blueprints are too grand to be contained or explained, so we build so you can experience this transcendence, and our means are not always elegant, humble beginnings and tear-stained wood, because paint and wallpaper were too expensive, but do not be mistaken, the character of this raw wood and bare nail speaks of our virtue and dedication to our blessings and our passion. So feel them as we did and know us to be laborers of love, and support is not always granted, so we encourage ourselves as much as we can in our own stands, cheering ourselves on when needed, repleted, returning to work harder and smarter because these visions won't let us sleep. We are dreamers and doers, chasers of meaningful actions and contributors to the betterment of all things because we are born to be.
Okay. That was amazing. I have to ask.
Yeah.
Like when you're writing, do you, like before we actually get into like the meat of the piece, like how much thought do you put into the cadence of when you're going to perform it, or do you just kind of push it out and write it?
It varies. I start off, there's an idea, it comes, I just let it flow. I'll go back, from time to time and say, okay, well I need to switch this up. I don't really like the way this flows. Change it. Okay. Now, from the actual piece, I mean, one of the things that I kind of heard in it a lot is a lot of key references to like buildings, structures, architect, foundations, and everything like that. Was there a specific reason why you kind of picked that structure? I mean, that's how I view everything. You need a strong foundation in order to build upon. And, in terms of art, telling people, oh, yeah, I want to do art. I want to do this. I want to do that. Oh, okay, well, So, you have to be your own strong foundation, and that's what I wanted to draw and speak on.
Okay. Now, who is we that you reference in the piece?
Artists
in general.
Artists, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I was a part of that we. I was like, he's talking about me, but I'm not sure. I don't want to ask. But, meaningful expression.
Yeah,
I think is one of the biggest things. And I know here at Streams of Consciousness and MASSOV Entertainment, we're actually working on a meaningful project with the Baltimore Youth Slam team. Yeah. They're qualified for the Nationals, and we're really trying to figure out different events and different methods to kind of bring awareness to their cause. Yeah. Bring togetherness with the communities, because we're based in DC, they're based in Baltimore. So I really want to bring a stronger connection between the two slam teams, between the youth slam teams.
Definitely.
And just show support on both ends, And, you know, that just kind of, you know, when I was asked by the production staff, you know, kind of where do you want this to grow into? What do you want Streams of Consciousness to accomplish? And I think the main thing is accomplishing meaningful goals.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily growing listeners or getting to a larger brand, but to just make a meaningful impact.
Yeah.
And these kids are amazingly talented. They're so energized and they're so motivated.
That is awesome.
So, and I went to my first National Slam at 18. So to be able to benefit somebody else, it's immaculate. Okay, I think we're going to go on to the next song with Dose, one of my favorites. It's called Summer Stroll. I think it's off his third mixtape. Don't quote me on this because I kind of have all his stuff on my iPod, so it just kind of streams through. But, you know, it's a hot day out here in D.C. Seeing people in wife beaters and tank tops and shorts, you know, I think this is a great soundtrack for the day.
Summertime stroll, you know. Walk with me. Hey, look. Puffing on the funnel, breathing uptown air. The city that divide niggas past this like air. Coming through the wrong block, you gotta pay your fare. Cause if not, it's like playing a game, a truth is there. The truth being told, the story's always told by the younger who survive and the one who watched the fold. I'm trying to stack my cash, tell my pockets unfold. See many summers hot and see many winters cold. Niggas got popped and watched their face turn cold. I used to tell my mama the ghetto fucks on my soul, yeah. Then I ask why my heart is so cold, like I keep that bitch on polar bear froze. But what I do know is just the side effects of the ghetto, cause I gotta take my days more slow, like a summertime stroll. Puffing on the J's on the throat, just relax and watch the smoke flow. This is what I see when I summertime stroll, when I summertime stroll. Walking through the block, everybody say hello. Some things never change, but the same stays old. So when it do change, make sure that you evolve like the evolution, like fungus growing on mold. This is what I see when I summertime stroll. When I summertime stroll. Still strolling on my fucking blocks and my avenues. I love my city. I show it with the gratitude. Yes, I got the attitude. Coming from the city that I'm from, you can die for one of your shoes without the tongue. Nobody wants to see you make it. So if they give you props, they're lying or they fake it. Now everybody's Muslim nowadays on that As-salamu alaikum. And 2 minutes later, it's where my salami bacon. If I offend you, then you should always know that those Singapore's the one to keep it real with you. The poverty's in my streets, it's the real issue. RIP's on our T's, say I still miss you. Yup, candlelight memorials, you know how the story goes. Younger had to die, only Lordy knows where homie goes. Yeah, that's the way the streets go with the flow. You gotta let God and let it go. This is what I see when I summertime stroll. When I summertime stroll. Walking through the block, everybody say hello. Some things never change, but the same stays old. So when it do change, make sure that you evolve like the evolution, like fungus growing on mold. This is what I see when I summertime stroll. When I summertime stroll. If you see me summertime strolling, just holler at me, homie. You know that we rolling. I'm strolling through my beautiful blocks and I'm puffing that loud from the night to the morning. If you see me summertime strolling, just holler at me, homie. You know that we rolling. I'm strolling through my beautiful blocks and we puffing that loud from the night to the morning. If you see me summertime strolling, just holler at me, homie. You know that we rolling. I'm strolling through my beautiful blocks and I'm puffing that loud from the night to the morning. If you see me summertime strolling, just holler at me, homie. You know that we rolling. I'm strolling through my beautiful blocks and we puffing that loud from the night to the morning.
All right, that was Dose Sikapom, and that was Summertime Stroll. Now, Antoine,
Yeah.
we interviewed Dose a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, on DC Speakers, and honestly, that was one of it was a great interview for me because another person I've kind of known for a couple of years, and I kind of got to know so much more about him and his creation process and everything like that. What is it? Because you're artists of different mediums. What is it to create? What is it to put something together to make something meaningful? Like, what does that mean to you?
Life. I mean, to be honest, people ask you, what's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is not being able to create, period, anything. So I have to write, I have to draw, I have to sing a little bit in the shower. I got to do all of it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Me as an artist, I've kind of expanded into guitar playing and just exploring different genres of music. Because, you know, as a hip hop head, I kind of stick with hip hop. And the only time I hear influences from other genres was when somebody else incorporated it. And I found that most of the time, those were the artists I was drawn to the most, that were able to incorporate different genres into hip hop and it still be true hip hop. In my opinion, like, unless if we don't grow, we're pretty much dormant. We're dead.
Yeah.
You know, I think Lauryn Hill said that a little while ago. You know, if you don't grow, if you're not changing every day, you're dead.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of pushes me to pick up new things. Is there anything new that you're trying to experience, you're trying to learn more about?
You know, my eyes are always open. My ears are always open. I'm always listening and learning. And that's why I love being involved in so many different, you know, arts. I have my hand in all pots.
Okay.
So I can always pick up something.
Okay, great. Okay, well, tell the people some of, like, what's the biggest project West 7th Design has been able to do?
Man, we've done some great stuff. We've worked for Chef Roble, who's on Bravo TV. Done stuff for Paul Brunson, who's on Oprah. He's got his own show on OWN now.
Okay.
I couldn't begin to limit any. Like, we've just done some great work. I'm excited.
Okay. Now, one of the key things I heard you say in that statement, I think it was subconscious. You probably don't even know you said it. It was we. You know, you kept saying we. Why don't you shout out your team at West 7th?
All right, yeah. Let me say thank you to Simone, to Merritt, to Turhan, to Whitney, and to Jason. I'm shouting out their names because that's my family.
Yeah.
Like, you know, West 7th is a family, and I love those guys. Like, talented, driven.
Yeah, I mean, tell everybody where they can find the website. Anybody that's looking for graphic design and trying to support local businesses.
Yeah, W7th.com.
Okay.
West 7th, so W7TH.com.
Okay. Where'd you get the name West 7th Design?
Weirdest story, I was hanging out with a friend, and we were just throwing random words out there. Okay. 7 is my favorite number, and West 7th stuck. It just stuck. I mean, I have a professional story that I tell clients, but
of course,
you know,
something that makes sense, you know, makes people want to believe in you. Yeah. Now, how much is social networking and online marketing meant to your business?
It means a lot because we need support. You know, seeing support kind of empowers you to keep going and to do more. Yeah. So it's kind of important. Okay. You know, it gets our stuff out there.
All right. Where can people find you, the author, on Twitter, Facebook, or whatnot, and then, you know, kind of West 7th Design as a collaborator? Where can we find you? You
can find me as an author at Truth Revisited on Twitter and on Tumblr. So search Truth Revisited. Okay. And West 7th at W7TH.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, what's on the horizons for the future for you personally? Like, what are something that you're trying to accomplish in 2013? What does this new year, especially we're halfway through, like, what does this year mean for you?
It's some new challenges. I'm working on releasing a scholarship, working on getting that set up. It's not going to be ready in 2013, but getting the foundation set for that and opening up an internship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that just basically going to be in graphic design for West 7th Design? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then on the other side, working to finalize this book, man. Yeah. Finalize this third book.
Yeah, I know you said you were going to re-release Letters I Never Sent along with the same. Now, is this going to be more of an e-book release, or is it going to be...
Love Letters I Never Sent will be an e-release. The third book is going to be printed.
Okay. Yeah. Now, explain to us the difference in the process for e-releasing and hard copy release.
E-releases, it's easier to get it out there. I don't have to worry about publishers. You know, I don't have to worry about anything like that. It's just you know, I wrote it. I copyrighted it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Send it out.
Yeah. Now, one other thing, because, you know, I'm very interested in publishing at some point.
Yeah.
The rewriting process, revision process, like, was it a situation where you actually sent it to a publishing company, they read through it and everything like that, then they sent it back to you, or did you have somebody amongst you read it and tell you any changes you needed?
I sent it to some friends, and I actually sent it to a professional editor. Okay. She was great, but, you know, when it's something so personal, it's like, thanks.
I don't know if I really want to change that.
The revision process, though, for me, it's a little painful because, you know, I want everything to be perfect, you know, so even though it's not perfect, I want it to be perfect. So, you know, do I want to put this comma here? Do I want to move it? Do I want to put it there? Do I want to move it?
Yeah.
You know, I spent a good 4 or 5 months, you know, on 3 pieces on just formatting.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I love about spoken word is that there's no perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that can write it down and does not mind performing it can do spoken word. I've been in different venues where spoken word or poets have kind of like a look, or they have a sound. One thing that somebody in the room with us today, after you read one of your pieces, they said it was kind of like hip hop. You know, the cadence of it was amazing, and it reminded him of kind of nostalgic hip hop.
Yeah.
And I feel that spoken word can be that. You know, spoken word can be hip hop, rap. Spoken word can be, you know, somebody just kind of giving a slower piece. I mean, I know me personally, a lot of my pieces kind of have the same structure. They kind of have the same vibe or feel. But that's my spoken word. You know, that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's how people can relate to me. But how other people do it, it could, you know, it could be anything.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of art, why don't you tell us a story of the last time you were truly impressed by any type of form of art?
Any type of form of art, man. Let me speak about when I went to Broadway. I went to go see Wicked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
man.
That it was amazing. I mean, because like I said, I'm into all arts. You know, I'm looking at the set. And I'm just like, this set is amazing. Then they come out in the costumes. I'm like, whoa, these costumes are amazing. Then they start singing. I'm like, oh my god, the song, the voice, everything. You know, I'm in the front row and I'm like looking, got my head up. You know, that blew me away. That just.
Well, I'm going to share mine. It's kind of a shameless plug, but I don't care. I listened to the Great Gatsby soundtrack maybe a week ago. And I was kind of, you know, I'm a music guy. I'm a hip-hop head. I know Jay-Z, not personally, but in my mind or in another life. And, you know, I kind of, I felt like it was my obligation as a fan of hip-hop, as a fan of Sean Carter, you know, as a fan of the rock brand, you know, Rockefeller, Rock Nation, rock music. As just a fan of his evolution, I felt like I really had to listen to it, and I really had to give it a chance. And of course, you know, the Beyonce Andre 3000 track, it attracted me. The Emile Sande song, it attracted me to want to listen to it. But it's crazy because the album as a total project outshines any individual track.
Yeah.
Like, that album introduced me to Lana Del Rey, who I never paid attention to. I really didn't care. And when I heard Young and Beautiful for the first time, I wanted to know who it was.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what she looked like. I wanted to know what the video was going to look like. Because to me, that song is epic.
Yeah.
You know, the Andre 3000 and Beyonce Knowles Back to Black rendition, to me, is epic. Like, not even that it outshines Amy Winehouse or the original, but just what it contributes to the story of The Great Gatsby. Because I think that's something that we forget about with soundtracks.
Yeah.
It's kind of been taken away from us, the soundtrack that tells the story of the movie in music.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah. You know, Love Jones was like that. Waiting to Exhale, that soundtrack. It gave you, like, you could sit down and listen to it, and you could think about the characters. And, you know, I haven't seen The Great Gatsby movie, but I had the pleasure of reading the book. And when I listen to the soundtrack,
you feel it.
I feel it. Yeah. You know, even Jay-Z's $100 Bill, which I didn't really relate to it when I first heard it as just a Jay-Z's new song. The same way I felt about Back to Black. I didn't really connect to it when it was leaked, and it was like, oh, Beyonce's new Back to Black. But when I listened to the whole album, it was something that touched me as an individual and as an artist, because unlike American Gangster, which was, you know, the hip hop album for the movie, this took me into a completely different space. Yeah. You know, and one thing I can truly say is it introduced me to several people that I would have never thought of listening to. And in Emile Sande, her rendition of Crazy in Love, the jazz rendition, I would have never listened to it. Now there's another mixtape out, you know, another plug. It's the jazz versions of all the Great Gatsby songs.
Hey.
And one thing I'll say about Sean Carter, when he does a project, the streets listen, and they usually support it.
Yeah.
And anything that he does usually gets remixed, usually gets redone. And just like Lauryn Hill, just like most of the epic hip-hop artists, whenever they speak into a microphone, somebody grabs it and remixes it and chops and screws it or whatever. And the Gray album from the Black album, the Red album from the Black album. And it's just like amazing when I hear what people can do with the thought process. Because, you know, again, he executive produced the album. So what that means is he funded it and he kind of oversaw the producers. But the fact that he was open enough to bring these other artists in. I mean, it kind of speaks to, Coldplay. It speaks to Aerosmith. It speaks to when he references these bands that, Black Keys, that really aren't hip hop at all.
Yeah.
But he kind of has so much respect for it, and it tells the story better. So that's the piece of art that I've been kind of listening to a lot. I've been bumping a lot. We're going to close out the show today with one of my favorite artists, kind of a nostalgic Miss Lauryn Hill. Turn the Lights Down Low, that she did for Bob Marley. And, this is an amazing song for me because, again, it personifies love. Listen to the verses, take it in, enjoy it. And I think we're going to enjoy a very nice, warm summer day here in the DMV. Thank you for listening.
Down low and pull your window curtain. Oh, let your moon come shining